Now we will proceed to the last speaker, but not least, I would like to introduce her to you all. The third session is entitled The Design of Learning Environment for Teaching and Learning During and After COVID-19 in Indonesia Context, from Humanities, Liberal Arts, and Social Sciences point of view. So we will have now our honorable speaker, Marta Nandari Santoso, MA, from Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana. Mrs. Marta took her bachelor degree in English education from Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana, and her MA in Applied Linguistics, National University, Singapore. She is a senior lecturer in English Language Education Program, Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana. She was the Vice Dean of Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana. She was also the manager of the Bureau of Promotion and External Relations, and she was the Vice Rector of Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana. Her interests are in authentic learning, multicultural communication, multimodality, and innovative teaching and learning. So now please welcome Mrs. Marta Nandari Santoso. Mrs. Marta, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Debbie. Hi, everyone. Let me now share my slides first. Okay, so in this session, in my session, I will talk about my teaching reflection this semester during the pandemic. And I use technological tools that are very familiar to my students already, and also that are familiar for me. And I use, for the methodology, I use a humanistic approach. So title from my presentation is an online environment design for using a humanistic approach for whole person education using a humanistic approach. The aim is to exemplify an online environment design for whole person education using a humanistic approach. And my presentation structure, so I will start with context, and then I would give just small survey results on useful technological tools for online environment that I conducted at my faculty. And then humanistic approach in education, an example of an online environment design for whole person education using a humanistic approach, and then students' opinions, conclusion, and recommendations, and then references. So let me now start with the context. To illustrate my presentation, I used two of my courses, critical reading class and professional narrative writing class. The students or participants are 32 first-year students of the English Language Education Program, Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Kristen, Satya, Wacana. And they are more female, 20 female and 12 males. And if you look at the student demography, most of my students actually are from Salatiga or Central Java. Salatiga is the city where Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana is located. And then the second majority are students from Borneo or Kalimantan. And then there are also a few students coming from West Java, Maluku Island, and Madura Island. And you know that during the pandemic, all of the students, or most of the students that are from out of town, they return to their hometown. And especially I noticed that my students coming from Maluku and also Kalimantan, they live in villages. So I realized that my students actually have different technology and digital literacies. That's the context. And then the technological tools that I use, so for my immediate online class, I use the less stressful ones to ensure that learning happens. So my choice of technology fell to the use of Schoology. Why I use Schoology? Because all of the students, starting from first semester, they are introduced to Schoology. So this is a familiar learning management system for all the students. And then I also use Facebook because all of the students already have Facebook accounts. And then I also use WhatsApp group for the more immediate communication mode. Everybody also in my class has WhatsApp accounts. And then I also use YouTube for the supplementary material. And also for giving quizzes, for giving exercises, and for playing games, yeah, I use quizzes. This is also a useful tool. These tools actually are among the 30 useful technological tools based on my survey results. So based on my survey results in my faculty, there are 17 participants. The highest is like WhatsApp email, so everybody use them for, especially for preliminary communication. And then Google Meet, Schoology, and Zoom, they are for the, I think for the synchronous communication, and also other tools like this. I'm not going to discuss one by one as I'm not also an expert in this. And as for the teaching methodology, I was very much influenced by the humanistic approach. The ultimate goal of education based on humanistic approach is self-actualization. So learners can realize what they desire or what they really want to be. Humanistic approach is rooted from personality psychology and introduced by scholars like Maslow and Rogers. And based on these theories, teachers create a learning atmosphere that is non-threatening to enhance learning. So humanist teachers are non-judgmental. Humanists believe that by being non-judgmental, they can encourage students to learn and grow. Humanistic approach stresses a learning environment which minimizes anxiety and enhances personal security. If students feel hostile towards the subject of the study, the materials, or the teaching methods, they will be unlikely to achieve success. Okay, and based on the theories of humanistic theories, there are changing roles of a teacher. So from a notion dispenser, from transferring knowledge, you know that teacher is now not the sole source of knowledge, becoming a facilitator to facilitate learning. And from teaching to learning. So the important thing is not to supply knowledge, but to direct the students to learn how to learn. So learning to learn is important. Besides Maslow and Rogers, a humanistic approach is also rooted in Paulo Freire's ideas. The pedagogy of the oppressed. This is very famous. So, and his criticism to education through his ideas in pedagogy of the oppressed. He said that like the banking, he called it the banking concept of education. So the students' minds are like saving accounts in which the teacher makes deposits. According to Freire, education thus becomes an act of depositing in which the students are the depositories and the teacher is the depositor and makes deposits which the students patiently receive, memorize, and repeat. So the banking concept of education is students are only receiving, filling, and storing the deposits. Freire's ideas on humanistic approach is also like democratization of the learning process and critical ideas or critical thinking. Education is embedded in democracy and practice of freedom. And characteristic of the teaching methods of humanistic approach are problem solving. So here, the student is actually also the teacher and the teacher student. So the student is also the teacher, and then the teacher is also students. So they have power sharing relationship. So there is collaborative learning. And then another characteristic is dialogues. So teacher asks questions, exposes students to the world rather than supplying answers or defining the world. And then the next characteristic is praxis, that is reflection and action that is done repeatedly. So there is no final act of knowing. So knowing is growing and there is no act of knowing. So that is why we cannot like become a knowledge dispenser because it is very dynamic. The implications of humanistic approach in the classroom. So about student-teacher relationship, student and teacher, or teacher is also student, and students are also teachers. So there is a sharing of power. And then student-teacher should have rapport, good and close relationship. And then teacher and students have dialogic relationship. So teacher is not the only is not the sole learning resource for the students, but there is a shift from teaching to learning, and teacher only facilitates learning. And the learning atmosphere, it should be non-threatening, but warm and encouraging. We should have trust and respect to the students. And as for the topics, there should be positive topics. So for example, in my writing class, actually a topic such as my saddest experience, according to humanistic approach, it is not recommended. It is okay to write about a sad experience, but it must be said in a positive tone. So for example, one of my students in writing class, she wrote that when she was 5, her mother passed away. And she was often bullied by her friends for not having a mother. But she managed to see the positive side of it. And she ended the story writing, I do not have a mother, but I have a very loving and caring father. So that is what positive topic is like. Yeah. And then topic should also be meaningful. To me, to be meaningful means authentic topics. So topics that the students are likely to experience or need in their real life situations. And then learning activities. The learning activities can be in dialogues or mostly discussions in my class, and then problem-based projects, collaboration or group work, and praxis or reflection and action. So honestly, during the pandemic, I seldom have synchronous meeting with lecturing, but I do more discussions, giving projects, collaboration, group work, and also reflection and action. And the classroom application. So in my class, for example, this is just an example. So the steps is first I create a course on Schoology and then share the course code to the students via the official student email. So every student has a student email. So it's very easy that to contact them in the preliminary communication. And then after that, I create a WhatsApp group. This is for the more immediate communication. And I also use WhatsApp group for video call for group consultation. And then number 3, I create a Facebook closed group and invite members. So in a Facebook closed group, only the teacher as the administrator and the students as members can see the activity in a Facebook closed group. So talking about privacy is private enough in the sense that only the members in the group can see the activity in Facebook closed group. And then what can Facebook do for an online class? So actually there are many features that we can use on Facebook. Especially I created a Facebook closed group. So we can upload files like PowerPoint, videos, pictures. We can also use the discussion forum here for the comment session for discussion. And then there is also a feature create poll, and I use create poll for pairing or grouping the students. And then there is also live video. So whenever I need to explain, like talk about a difficult topic, I would use the live video. And when I need to have interaction with the students live with face, yeah, like a Zoom, there is also a feature like create room, but the capacity is only limited to 20 people. But it's enough for my class. And well, in Zoom, you have breakout room. On Facebook, whenever I want to have a group discussion, I would create different walls. So students in their group can communicate in that wall, especially for that group. And then there is also a feature of watch a video together and create an event. But I think create an event is not relevant now during the pandemic. And as you see here, actually, you can also schedule posts. So whenever we can also post something pre-advance. So to me, it's very convenient to use this social media. Okay, now my activities. For building rapport with the students, I always start like the first 10 minutes of my class to say hi, to greet one another like this. I post in Facebook, hi students, good to see you again, how are you? And then they will respond and they will also interact one another saying about their well-being. I think this is important because students during the pandemic, they sometimes feel isolated. So it's good if they can still, they feel that they are connected to other people. And I would also give an example here. taken from my colleague's class, Miss Sinanu's class. She used Padlet. Yeah, this is also a tool, a very interesting tool. So she used Padlet for introduction. So on the first day during the pandemic online class, she asked all of the students to post their pictures and also to give introduction, to say hi to one another. This is good, especially if we deal with new students when they do not know one another already, they do not know the teacher. So I think this is good that you can have some kind of introduction like this at the beginning of the class. Okay, and then characteristic of humanistic approach is respect and trust. You know that I posted this on the wall of our class Facebook group. The situation is that I asked the students to have uploaded their work before class. But about 30 minutes before class began, I noticed that some of them have not done it. So instead of saying like, hi students, upload your storyboard soon, it's almost deadline. I wrote something like this. Hi everyone, I can't wait reading and watching your revised storyboards. Upload them now or upload them soon. Well, I know that probably if this is shorter and probably effective, especially if we say like your score will be deducted if you submit late, for example. I know that score reduction is also effective, but it is an external motivation and it has temporary effects only. If students feel the teacher's enthusiasm in their work, such as when we say, I can't wait reading and watching your storyboards, they will feel appreciated and they are likely to work more seriously. And then another principle of humanistic approach is empowering the students. Have dialogues, learn from one another. So the situation here is that when I posted this, well, some students complained they failed uploading their rather long storyboards in a form of video on Facebook because I asked them to upload their storyboards. And then there were two friends who had succeeded posting their long video. So I asked the two friends here, student A and student B, to share their experience. Hi, A and B, you managed uploading a long video of storyboards. Please share. Your friends need your advice. And you know that they were very happy. Yeah, and then they said that, oh, maybe you have not, maybe you did not have good internet connection because yesterday my connection was also low and I failed. Maybe you need to save your file so that it become smaller and something like that. And the slides on the right here, I asked them to, class, read and watch your friends' storyboards. You may learn from them and they may learn from you. Comment one another. So this is to encourage students to learn from one another. And then related to authentic materials, I try to use topics that are familiar or that they are likely to meet in their daily life. So the class material here was in my reading class. It is predicting skills for reading. So I asked the students to find captions of newspaper articles that they were interested in and ask questions as to predict the content of the article from the question. So I asked them to upload or to post the caption of the article, and then let the other students, because they have read the article, and ask the other students to make questions as to predict the content of the article of the caption. For example, here, France to transform surplus wine into hand sanitizer. And then students, friends ask, how can they do that? What kind of wine did they use for hand sanitizer, etc. So there is question and answer like this. Another topic here on this, the slides on the right, the learning material here was evaluating the reliability and credibility of a source. You know that sometimes now we can read something, watch something that is not credible and that is not reliable. And then I asked students to post tags on videos that they recently watched and challenge their friends to evaluate the reliability and credibility of that source. And then the class discuss. It's something like this. So a student posted, this is the video that I watched yesterday, and then her friend actually watch and then make evaluation of the video. And then another activity is like a problem-based project. This is also done on Facebook. The purpose was to make the students aware about cultural context. So this is the material of the class. And then students make a survey among their international friends on Facebook, asking about cultural problems they have as a student and how they resolve them. And then students post the results of their survey in the form of pictures like this, pictures and text, and then class comment and ask questions. Okay, I also do like create poll for pairing or grouping the students. So this is what I did once with polling. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. And then choose one of the options. One option can only be chosen by two people. There are some 4 votes because they did not read the instruction very carefully. So I use create poll here for grouping the students. Well, like in Zoom, you have room breakout. On Facebook, I also sometimes have group discussion. And then I create different walls for the students like this. So group 1 can discuss here, and then group 2 discuss here, and group 3 discuss here. So the different walls for group work on Facebook is also possible. And then for giving quizzes, exercises, and games, I use Quizzes. This is an application. This tool is also very useful. It's fun. It's like playing a game. You can use it for giving exercises, giving quiz, or just invite the students doing exercises by playing games together. Okay, now the students' response. There are some positive and negative response from the students. The positive ones, it is saving internet quota. Facebook has many features that help facilitate an online class. It's quite simple and easy to use. I'm very comfortable when I know that our class is going to use Facebook. It's interesting because it's first time for me to use Facebook for an online class. The interface of Facebook is familiar for me. Through Facebook group, we can meet all members easily and practically. It's easy to do interactions with friends on Facebook group. I just need to mention his or her name. Interesting because Facebook also provides emoji features, so we can have more expression. Emoji and GIF are the other way for me to express my feeling on friends, posts, or other. There are also some negative reactions. The display on Facebook group is not in order, so it is random, and sometimes I have difficulty finding the latest post. It is simple but not comfortable as other social media. Facebook does not have any features such as dark mode. Direct message can help discussing something, but when discussing in a post, it is hard because of privacy. Sometimes they or other friends on Facebook are not responding. And then conclusion and recommendations. During the pandemic, social media such as Facebook, for example, is an alternative tool for online environment. It's user-friendly, so it may help create a non-threatening class atmosphere and reduce anxiety. And even after the pandemic, when we have different levels of technological and digital literacies, using friendly technological tools such as social media may still be relevant. The humanistic approach that stresses on egalitarian and democratic principles, power sharing among teachers and learners seem to support education for whole person. In whatever conditions, during or after the pandemic, having a positive attitude towards our students, respecting them, building good relationship and trust, humbling ourselves as being facilitators instead of the only source of knowledge, may help boost the students' independent learning and confidence. Students with confidence and independence learning skills are in the right path of their education journey to step forward for approaching their self-actualization to be what they really want to be. References, and thank you.